So for Ceramic Suite, for your next project, you're going to be throwing a pitcher. And for the pitcher, I want you to do 6 pounds. The base, when you throw it, can be no wider than 5, and it needs to be at least 9 inches tall, if not a lot more. Okay. The calipers that we have are going to be an aid for you. If you look right here, you can actually adjust that to the correct inch. So there's a 5 here, so that is 5 inches. If I move it down to this 1, that's 1 inch when I put on there. And so you can kind of use that for your base just to understand how wide it needs to be. The narrower the better. And so 5 is just the max. After 5, the pitcher is just going to look really heavy and chunky and not give it that lofty feel. We're really just trying to throw a very tall cylinder to start with. Okay? Very tall cylinder and a thick rim. Okay? And so I'll kind of whip that out here really quick and we can watch that. And then we'll move on to talking about some of the little finesse things that go along with it. Since you're throwing something tall here and something not very wide, you can't have a wide base. And so if you look here, I'll set this for 5. Okay, I want it right at about 5. Okay, it's going to be a little bit wider at the base, but no wider than that. This clay here is garbage. Get rid of it. It's not going to help you throw. We're going to trim these a little bit different in that the outside will look like a foot, but the bottom is really just flat. Okay, so you go down almost, I'd say, 1/4 inch from the bottom, and we're just going to make it, trim it pretty much on the wheel. So when we take it off, it's pretty much done. We won't trim these because of what we're doing with the rim, but we will make it look like it is trimmed. Really important here, when I open this, it's really important that I don't open it too wide. Okay? Again, you can see it was hit in between the 5 inches and now it's getting too wide. Okay? So no more than 4 fingers. Otherwise you're going to have too wide of a base and you're not going to get that height and your form's going to seem really chunky and heavy. Okay. And we just start out with just a really strong claw pull there. Grabbing as much clay as we can. We're not going to get your thumb all the way to the bottom. And leave the rim thick. Okay, like inch and a half. Leave it thick up there for right now. Okay, so just the claw pull really more than anything kind of sets it up, keeps that taper in. Okay, after you've done that, you're going to start on your finger pulls. Except I want you to change from the idea of a finger pull to now what I call a knuckle pull. The knuckle pull works well when you're starting to deal with more clay because you have more surface area for that clay to sit on. And so rather than just sitting on the fingertip and not having a lot of strength in your fingertip, I can get this and I have lots of strength. The key is as you come up not to do that, to keep your fingers pointed down. Okay, just like finger pull, we don't want to ever do that. We don't want to do that with the knuckle pull either. Okay. Press in. Come up. As soon as my knuckle is above my inside finger, then I can lock together and pull up. What a lot of people do is they don't get that outside finger higher than their inside finger. And we've got to get it higher. So if you think about it, my base of my pot is right there. So I got to start by pushing in, pulling up, and then when I'm finally above that inside finger, then I can pull up. Where a lot of times students will just start to pull up with both hands here, and my inside finger is above them. So I got to bring that above. Just trying to throw a very tall cylinder here. Press that rim. Keep all the water out of the inside of your pot. Sometimes you have to drizzle water down the inside. Keep it so it's smooth and slick. Okay, this clay here I'm not so much worried about. I'm actually going to use that to make my foot. I've got one more pull here. So this is just my pull. I'm going to actually kind of start to form it just a little bit. And that's pretty much all I do for forming anyway. Just a very subtle curve. Okay, nothing huge. We do not want an extreme angle out here. Okay, we want this to climb. Okay, and so we don't want it to belly out. We want it to be pretty vertical, just a slight slant to it. I'll use my rib here to smooth things up. I don't want the top of that shoulder to start until about half, or over half, probably 2/3 of the way up. A lot of times, I think students put the outside, the apex of that pot too low, keep it up tall, and let this just have a nice taper as it comes up. Okay, now I have my rim here, okay? I can pull that just a little bit thinner here. I don't need it that thick, but I'd rather have it too thin, or too thick to start with, too thin. Okay, there we go. Round that out. You can do a lot of things here. You can keep it straight and flat. You can round it out. You can make it sharp. Lots of options there. Okay, now I'm ready to set up my foot here. Okay, and so I actually want to trim my foot in and be done with it here. So I'm going to first get rid of this clay out here. I'm leaving some of that clay coming out. Okay, then I'm going to take my tool and kind of invert it a little bit. So I'm actually kind of trimming that foot in there. And then I'm just going to kind of work on getting that to come to a point there. So you can see I'm kind of trimming it as if there was a foot, making that come to a sharp, noticeable point so that you can see where that foot actually starts. Spend some time in this area because you're pretty much done with the bottom once you're done with this here. So you want to get it right. Slight taper out. It will give it more stability to our base. Okay, and then I'm really done with the throwing end of it. So now I need to clean up my hands for the spout. Okay, there's different ways to make spouts. You can do a beaker pitcher where you take a slab and put it on here and extend it out. And those are nice. You can get a really tall pitcher spout. What I want you guys to do is actually pull your spout from the clay you left. And this is one of the main reasons we're leaving it thick, is so that we can pull that spout. And so here, with a clean hand, I'm going to come in and just kind of start to pull my spout, okay? So I'm taking that extra clay, that thick clay, and just starting to pull it up by pinching and kind of pulling. And I'm just trying to taper that clay. I want to also have it tapered this way as well, so don't just pull it in one area. Kind of spread that out a little bit. You don't want to make it paper thin, so let it have a little thickness to it. I'm going to work that area over quite a bit here. Okay, once I'm happy kind of with the shape of that, now I'm going to give it a throat so that it can actually pour out that. And so I'm going to come down here and kind of do a finger swipe and kind of give it a throat for it to pour through. So I've given it the throat. Then I'm going to kind of start to pull that over. I want it to be sharp here so that it cuts the liquid, but I don't want to paper thin that it's brittle. Okay? So it's kind of a battle to make it so it's sharp. It will cut the liquid to a point, but not so it's so thin that it wants to break. if it gets bumped, and it's going to get bumped when you put it in the cabinet or something. When I'm finished there, I'm just going to kind of get rid of the goobers. I'm going to get rid of the slip. At the end of it, that slip is going to be really weak, and so I want to kind of have it kind of compressed here. Okay, so it's not paper thin, but it's got a sharp edge to it there. Okay, and then I can kind of start to play with that form a little bit. If I want to, I can bring this back. Okay, and pretty much I'm ready to go. Okay, then what I'll do is I'll put a handle on it. When you put a handle on it, the key to putting a handle on it is to not have that handle come way out. Oftentimes the handles, when we make them, come way out. And they might look better that way, but they do not function well. You've got a lot of weight here, and you want your hand as close as possible to that pitcher. And so if it's sticking way out here, it's going to feel really, if it's sticking out here, it's going to feel really, really heavy. And we want that hand to be close to the pot. Our knuckles should almost be touching the pot itself. Okay? If they're back here, it's going to seem really, really heavy. So we want to really kind of consider that handle being pretty much straight up and down here. There's a little bit of a curve, okay, but my hand's close to the pot. It's really important, okay? And so you're going to just pull a really thick handle. When you make that, attach it up here, bend it over just like you would a mug, except it's about 3 times as big. Okay? This will shrink a lot, okay? A lot. Believe it or not, it was about the same size, okay, when it was fired. Okay, so clay shrinks, and as you start to throw bigger, you're going to start to see that more and more. Okay, where they look huge, but then after they come out of the kiln the final time, they've shrunk a lot. 12 to 15%. So if you throw a 10-inch cylinder, when it comes out of the kiln, all fired, it's going to be about 8.5 to 8 inches tall. Okay, so you're going to lose some height there. Okay, at this point, we're going to wire under it, take the bat and everything off so you don't distort it, and then later on you can attach the handle and then just round off the bottom.